boom dengazago karazena shirjingila shologam boom yebechani boomze nyandela do nyangan debala jalcham boom nyangan degar song inza jalcham boom ye inza delam boomse konchegla sagi isebe mindawa boom yopa juchachini te inza konchegla te palpo chela molam boom yopa langar shepala simum boom tulsul sum yopena boom chichao boom dengazena wata tendegi chele manda jucha manda ke doa ning tasun manda chele
So why these five are called the five 500 verses text, and they are the regions, and the text here says the regions. The first one, Perfection of Wisdom Sutra has, as we said before, there are 100,000 verses in that text, so that's why it's called 100,000 verses text. And the second sutra is the I think more proper would be passing away. In that text, in that sutra, there are 100 sort of verbal, 100,000 verbal commitment that Buddha, just left before passing away. So it's kind of teachings in itself, 100,000 verses of commitments. And then third, the accumulations or gatherings of refuge. That is also called 100,000 verses, because in that text there are 100,000 different 100,000 different names of Buddhas, 100,000 different names of Buddhas, and Development Sutra. I think that's a word that I used before, probably. Because in that text there are 100,000 prayers, 100,000 prayers mentioned in that text. And Lankar Avatar Sutra, in that text there are 100,000 different ways of destroying, evil or devils, in that text. So therefore, these all five are called 100,000 verses sutras.
Oda ti viba de lambum galpen donga la gore tangana so yundu chetu te dezo pe kiti mambo ye tanga so yundu chetu marwa ta yundu chetu ya ji viba de karazana chi viba tonda viba mare chi viba de yundu viba sherab ningbo nyande giton viba daga ishe ngone shologa hage shugusumma de yo marda halebe yaboji yare Indiana yoran daga ishi shugusumma de yo mare konze viba tondi doje namjum gone tuichada da doje namjum gindo shugu khachema de yo mare yante 팔칠 던디바 장제 몰람 아니 몰람 하기 장제 인덤바 있나다 인도데 팔보진 인덤바다 집에 지냥 차대요 보다 몰람 초대다 장제 몰람데 보다 되지 라시 기던디 동차 오늘 디바샤발라 다 초도 기바 공부 숨빈도 라그레 동아샤바 라그레 보다 띵라 yapен 동아 라그레 다름중 tum바지 인치다 yapен 동아 셰고레 있고 yapen donga machine ramjun tu bakalasi ngadin chonga machine tombe abakalasi so ota tu sungda peleta tambe du si sare maji gengi tene yang do kanangre she worte ti jawars pe shu sunga ota ti yonta dire ene kana ngara ta shakwa jeala nimbo tobji cha changyo gone 동화 샤베 고네 샤바치나 미다 균이 엄마래 어다디 인디가라 동사 티 에니페 샤베 샤벤도 뉴셔드 차려 어다디 개침버레스
So what we mentioned is the 100,000 verses, which is the most detailed 5 classifications of sutras. Now, if you make those 5 sutras into kind of a shortest version, then there's another 5 group of sutras. These are called 5 sutras of king, or king sutra. So the first one is the 100,000 verses that we mentioned before. Is sort of summarized shortest form in the text that we are going to study. Heart Sutra. Heart Sutra is the shortest version. But when we say shortest version, we are talking only in terms of the words and sentences used there, not about the meaning. The meaning is all meanings are still in the same short version. So the Heart Sutra is the shortest version of the 100,000 verses, sutra. And then second, the Passing Away Sutra, that is, summarized into the text called Daga Ishiru.
Daga Ishi.
Daga Ishiru Halagun, Daga.
Daga Sidugala. Nyande top Kabura, Nyan Dawa Sigua. Nyan the Nyomologene. Dele ni pe deba Daga Ishi Jupendo.
The text has a name here. Difficult to liberate or go beyond, or difficult to passing away. So Geshe-la said the text is only 3 pages, a very short form, which is the shortest version of the Passing Away Sutra that we mentioned before.
Daga Ishine Dudoa. Karsa. Semi Nilu di Shena, Sangi Jen du Sorgumar, Semi Nilu Shena Tagaran, Sangi Resumuda.
So in the that shortest version of the Passing Away Sutra, in that text it says that when you try to seek enlightenment, you don't have to go far away finding or seeking it. If you know the very reality of the mind itself, that's the enlightenment, and that is within yourself. You don't have to go out from your body or mind to find enlightenment. And the third, the aggregation of refuge. The detailed form we mentioned before, 100,000 verses, and the short form is the perfect destruction of Vajra perfect destruction, and this is the shortest form of the aggregation of refuge, and in this text it basically has the what we do, the monks does the purification practices. It's all comes under this section. And then the fourth is development sutra of development. The Tibetan word is Pelchen, which means mostly. So it doesn't sound correct if you translate it as mostly sutra. It doesn't make sense. Pelchen. There should be a good translation there, but that's the exact literal. So if you summarize, short version of that is the Sangju Mulam the Junju Mulam Sangju Mulam.
Shapendo.
Yes.
Mulam Gindo.
Yes.
Ni under the Tonga Shapa the Shapendo.
So prayers. This developmental. I'm not exactly sure about the word, but you can use this for the time being. I will look into next. I will look at the translations of these 5 sutra, if it is findable. So the shortest version of this development sutra is the this is the prayers of the good practices or good behavior. This is the common practice that we recite, or the monks recite when they recite the Buddhist scriptures.
Semi Ishin Jui, Sangi Jindu Matsoji, Semi Nelu Ishi, 뭐마디 또 봐있나? 이시 탐진 중이 유대 랑게 생기 라진 어서와 따가랑 레스 준 거라. 들리지마 상기 전도 출래 이거 말했어 집중 봐. 아. 라진 샘도나 이시인데 나 상기 전도 맞춰면 되시라도 보면서 돌아. 샘 이내로 뭐마다 또나 따가랑 상기를 쓴 정도. 다들 거기 뭐네 차속이 냠랭 적인데도 또 샘디 강리 하기 따지다니 샘세기 얼마다 전다 냠랭 요 말봐. 그때 뭐네 개 전부도 왔대. 니티 니들 그래서 쉬제는 삼로당도 빼핀다 영화지 됐어. 샘도는 이시면은 상기진도 맞춰지. 샘이 이신 중이고 상기진도 맞춰지.
So this is the one page from the shortest version of the text, Passing Away Sutra. So this is the shortest version. In the text, as Geshe-la said before, in that text, it says that he mentioned about the two sentences. So we talk about wisdom, right? Wisdom, and
샘도 세대 하고 좀 말했어. 하고는 샘기 니루 얼마대 롱마된지도 어떻게 소수 냠냠부터는 하고 와. 엄잡이. 엄답지.
So if you understood or if you realize the mind itself, that is the wisdom. So here, as I said before, understanding the mind itself refers to the understanding of the true nature of the mind. And when you do that, then you don't have to go out and find, different wisdom to achieve enlightenment. This itself is the wisdom that is, within yourself. So, and these are the words that are directly, taught by Buddha himself. And also here, I mentioned the sort of same thing. The mind itself is the origin of the wisdom, and therefore, do not seek or find Buddhahood outside of your mind. So you can see this kind of, the teachings that is mentioned in the short version of Passing Away Sutra. And so the last one, Langar Avatar Sutra, the shortest version of that is the what we call purification prayers. And purification prayers, it is also called, three, hips of, third hips of teaching, hips of scripture or sutra. It's a very short prayer or recitation that monks or Buddhist practitioners recite when they do the confession and purification practices. So these five are called Sutra of Kings or King Sutra, and there is a expression saying that if you are ordained monks or nuns, at the minimum level you have to know these five King's Sutra, and the metaphor example uses if you are the father of the family, you need to know 5, 7, and 15. And I asked Geshe-la, what is that? And Geshe-la, these are the expression that is used in Tibetan in Tibetan farming society prior to Chinese occupation. So when if you are the father of the family, you are supposed to do the farm working, and when you do that, you use a plow, to plow the field, and the plow has certain measurements that you need to know, the tools, and so the 5 refers to the 5, So the 5 refers to which is, I don't there's not English direct metric translation, probably almost a foot, but it is like this so there's a 5 that is called 5, so it's supposed to have a 5 4 of so these are the measurements that is at least needed to know by if you are father of the family member. So the plow has the it looks like this, right? And in the middle there's an extension of the pole that goes in the middle of the yoke. When you have a yak plowing, so that needs the 50. Seven. So this, so the middle pole, long pole, has to have a 15, and on the yoke it has to have a 7 toe. So these are the measurements that you need to know. So the metaphor used here is if you are father of the family, you need to know 5, 7, 15. If you are a monk, you need to know 5 sutras. So if you have all this measurement, used correctly for your plowing, instruments, then plowing becomes really kind of easy, instead of. And also, if for fully ordained monks and nuns, if they don't know these 5, sutras of kings, they basically don't know how to benefit and serve their society, religiously or through scriptural recitations. So these are the 5 that has to know by the ordained monks and nuns. So to know 5 sutras of kings, of course, if you know in depth with meaning and with the practice, that will be great. But if not, at least you have to know what we use meaning and sound generic. You have to have at least what is these 5 sutra means, sort of meaning reflected in your mind. When you think, you have to have kind of processes of knowing these are this and this is that. You have to have at least that kind of minimum level of understanding. So Buddha, as we always say, very skillful and great, has a great compassionate, because he has already kind of, presented different ways of practice based on different level of mental disposition. So we always say, most detail, then medium, and then a small scope person. So the practice according to where you fit and what is suited to your capability. And likewise, 4 school of tenets, they were taught according to the different levels of practitioners or students' mental disposition. So Geshe said, when he look at the commentary and share with us, he's not reading everything in the commentary. Of course, that will take a lot of time. For example, in the at this section of the text, it mentioned about as the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra sort of disappeared in India. Sometime after. So until Nagarjuna came into being after 400 years of Buddha's passing away. So between that time, the teachings of the Mahayana almost disappeared. So then, after 400, Nagarjuna came and he sort of revived, the teachings of Mahayana. And the text kind of, mentioned about this process or stages of the history. So Geshe said he won't be, covering all these.
어다 딘디디가라 간쟁 공부루도 중에 가 오늘 시징인데 주자다 할레바 답에 세버즈네 우마리 초도자네다 할레비스 시가 설제 세계어로 오늘 즉 시징인데 있던데 공부루도 나진다 야가 파베일나 중요 말에 하더니 가진 정보 차대요 내대지다는 세계에도 되게 얼마지 할리가 송도 공부루도라 배 men 지 천리 있는 남배 다도 용수 저밖에 말해서
And Nagarjuna himself was really, he himself was a truly scholar because he don't know much about him. But when you listen to His Holiness teaching, you can know how Nagarjuna kind of made a great impact, specifically in the this perfection of wisdom subject. He later composed 6 great heaps of middle way teachings, philosophy of middle way. There are 6 heaps of teachings, and he himself was a scholar, very learned scholars of medicine, astrology, of course Buddhist philosophy, highly learned master.
단다 나자 마부지가 몸을루르기 나부구저되기 15팽이도 쓰가 콩투서에 나부구저 단다 민지가는 제 나부구저 콩투서는 몸을루르기 되셔게 될 콩도 거로 15팽이도 써 인상 나자 마부지라.
And in Tibetan medicine practice, they also rely upon text by Nagarjuna, because he, being a scholar in medicine too, and one of the texts, the practice of 9 9 black practices, literal translation. This is the text by Nagarjuna, and still, physicians now, the Tibetan physicians, they rely upon this same text, and it kind of helps greatly in healing, patients and illnesses.
어다 던디 인디가라 딘다웨 네 다 세랭인 보심이 돈다데 어다 누나 던디 차대요래 디기다 되게 세랭인 보스디가라 그만도 당 아주 바기 손던 주디가라 양 니어한테는 말씀 좀 체라 바로지 마케민가 남큰 원이 소소나리 이지 뒤숨 야외물라 차살로즈 됐더니 네가 다그 대바티지나서 됐더니 로샤그래 다단트서 말씀 좀 체라 바로지는 더 말이 아니 좀된 되게 센다진진기 유물라터빈 시지리
가르마섬 좀 체라 바로
마케민가 남큰 원이 소소나리 이시시유와 뒤숨 야외물라 차살로즈
말씀 좀 체라 바로 좀 마케민가
소소나리 이시시유와
So in Geshe said in the monastery, when they recite, this short version of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, Heart Sutra, they start with a verse which is actually not part of the Heart Sutra, and that verse was composed by Buddha's own son, Dajinzin in Tibetan, and the verse it's it kind of appreciation for the perfection of wisdom. It says that perfection of wisdom is beyond expression by words, by thoughts, and by nature it is unceasing, non-generation, by nature of space. 소수랑리 이시.
소소랑리 이시 주의스가
And this is
소소랑으로 봐 냠자 이시 코네 주의로 와. 동영무슨도 냠자 공을 두고 너지도 발라 동영무슨도 주의 그렇다고 말와.
So this kind of understanding wisdom is the something that is enjoyed by the wisdom of meditative equipoise. If you remember that, wisdom of meditative equipoise. So only only by that wisdom can understood or realize or enjoy this. Basically, the wisdom realizing emptiness. So, this is the verse that kind of precede, and then the monks, they will just recite this Heart Sutra in Tibetan.
Tadi mazu bhagin digada ki theba dijizen din rocha groa. Tan di gola serengim ben godela tindi do karsa lozawe ingrucha tang ani bhagi chuku ani be 투사데 야갈 파베일로 두고는 산스크리트 개토도 두 윤도 천단 지금이다. 오늘 저는 디네 여러와.
And the tradition of his recitation of this Heart Sutra is, although in the text it has this the first one verse or short verses by verses of salutation by translators. That's a tradition. If you look at any Tibetan text, it begins with salutation or by the translations note, and then that after that comes the name in original Sanskrit, later Sanskrit, and then after that then starts the actual text. But the recitations of the Heart Sutra, as you see, it starts straight from the actual text. It kind of excludes these two parts, although these two does exist in the Tibetan scripture or translated text.
이 산스크리트 때 가르나만다 아주 드라마리 로그어마도 산스크리트 지마치진 연구 말에 인디갈라 이나 라메 맹아나 진짜는 로나 이 핑기를 해서 송도 라메 통화규비 잘은 다가는 로고를 해서 송도 인디갈라 토스 핑기 사레 인디갈라 야가르케 투스데다 가르서거자 파르기아 파라미타 히타야스 점된 데마 저렇게 파르지미 닝보스도 벌리기나 때려서 송고하래 다티 인디갈라 팅고 인지미지 산스크리트 기르고 가르잖아 슈응고도 강라 투고라다 강슈이나 이 중국 강라 투바나진 강래 주의지 아니베 텐주딩이 자갈 대나니 자갈라 끼리 전부 지에베나니 뭐니 개반 남주진기 배제 당사 산스크리트 아니베 산스크리트 유르디인 바데 하고야 돈달라디 뭐 산스크리트 자갈아야지.
So at the beginning of the text, as said before, in Tibetan, it has the Sanskrit, name, which Kishila just, read in Sanskrit. So although Tibetan scholars they can't recite exactly how Sanskrit is pronounced, but they recited it so that it's considered as the carrying on of the lineages of teachings, and it also has instructions that you maintain from your teachers. So you read the Sanskrit, and then why there is a Sanskrit words is because it shows the authenticity of the origin of the text, and at that time in India, there are 4 great languages, including Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is considered as the language of scholars. So to show the the origin of the text, the Sanskrit name is still kind of used in recitation.
어다 디제 다 이니 좀된 마셔게 받는 바차 차 잘로 세대 로자웨 좀된 데 숨 말대요. 로자웨 인규기 차래. 가르진 규차 자고 그러잖아. gyur tarchimba. Yo chetu tambo yu kebrajinde chathalina gyur the tarchimba yoyaki kebarya parchiminshiyata tendigi. Oda tingi lozawe pai gyurchada lozawe ndenkyori.
And then there is a sentence of prostration, paying homage or salutation to Buddhas. It says that a prostration or homage to Buddhas, and this is also a tradition that you will find in Buddhist scriptures which are translated. And the significance, special significance, is that this will help translators to accomplish their work thoroughly without any obstructions or barriers. To have a complete and accomplish everything.
어떤 점전에 숨되나 잘는 숨된도 두돈이 숨된도 징길라빈 도서비 다 너무 보여요. 이는 실행님보다 징길라빈 도래.
So referring to Buddhist teachings, there are different categories of teachings. How kind of Buddha sort of performed. And the one most common is through oral teaching. The next level is teachings of blessings. So Heart Sutra is considered as the blessed teaching, and then there are another group of teachings that sort of performed through Buddha's crown, head crown. So different kind of teachings.
Sutra du karma, sutra namo chamo. That the sutra 너무 많고요. 수도는 더더 간지 전된데 다 용과 규정 가르치 중으로 지디가라. 군가오 점된데 이게 다 구자래. 사오 인디가라 점된데 다 군가오 배 미제비 존톰데 긴지래. 지단이 점된데 두 띵이 징기라가데 요라데 코로나 미제비 존 요래. 이 인디가라 아니 점된데라 주래. 남의 gelate 점된데 살레 망보지 공가오 낭구보라 강가 레그마라 아니 점된데 만에서 최마수로 주래 공가오 점된데 야스무래 야스디가라 다 점된데 레 숨치서숨을 패래 숨치서숨을 패 연디가라 공가오 주르메 이제 패 마토래 조준 전다 망보 패래 패 마데다 점된데 뒤디 공가오 메사 잘니 최민승이야게 담자나 인자 점된데 파 레숨치서 숨라 주 낭구와래 위 주도는 소리 잔이마 손제.
So teachings given by Buddha are from his crown of head. Crown head. There are many, several kind of sutras, and how this came to being was Buddha's cousin Rokungo. His cousin Ananda, the common name, and he, sort of requested Buddha not to give teaching in his absence. So, basically, request Buddha to give teaching whenever he is at the audience, with the audience, and Buddha, accepted that. But later, when Buddha, did teachings in the 33 realms of, heaven, or Kungao Anand couldn't reach at that realm because he doesn't possess the power of miracle. So Buddha, needs to give teaching at that realm, but at the same time he couldn't because Ananda is not there. So, and without using his kind of oral teaching, he did the teaching through crown.
What do you 수도는 더 많고요. 드디어 공감 메리타래.
So there are many sutras that Buddha gave through his crown head, and this all kind of shows that all of these teachings Ananda is he was absent.
아니 다 징겔라벤 도스비 두 띵인질랑님 오늘 통용 버려. 이나 간다 차상질로나던 로사 말에 인디가라 두 띵인질주 점된 두 띵인질주디 아니 셔리부다 몽갈dim부다 다든데 초수 다좀 받았어. 니 개바침비 동리도서 개 가서 디 코 년대대박이 노루시라 마인자 징기람나 하고야 징기 말라나 하미고 있는 좀 전에 두 띵은 zelju 아니 파 셰르부 징기랍 아니 디와트서 땅 아니 제리질랭데 디와틸링이 도레 이 인구 징기랍은 도레 좀 전에 랑기 전에 송다 수도는 송다 텐데 말에 두 띵은 징기랍은 도레 아니 디가를 자셔나지
징고가 제르스에
제리지가 예 셰르부
수치와 당는
셰르부기 제리지기와 당 제리지기 랭자
So
징기 말라나 좀 전에 두 띵은 징기 말라나 양 관사티 디와틸린 제투고 아마니까
제르스의 셰르보니가 징기라 그랬어요. The teachings through blessing or blessed teaching, Sutra or blessed teaching, as said before.
감가대 인기 말이야. 지금 지신지 제투고 아마.
Because so this teaching belongs to blessed teaching, Heart Sutra, and when giving this teaching, Buddha himself is in the state of meditation. He's not sort of directly involved, and he blessed Shariputra that you find in here, and Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion. He blessed both these two sort of performers, and then they kind of involved in discussion. One Shariputra asking questions and Avalokiteshvara sort of answering. So the discussion is happening between Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, but Buddha himself is in the deep meditation. So we will stop here for today. Yeah.
Is Shariputra, or not Shariputra, is Avalokiteshvara in his form body, or is he just a consciousness?
Chenresi khaza su trabadnalo yamna sheba jangbore yesa.
Tidi da nyewe sege가 좀 된데 걸어와. 장주 세바 nyewe 세게 좀 된데 걸어.
So at that time, that period of teaching, I just said, this period of teaching, the Heart Sutra, commonly called 8 close disciples, which Avalokiteshvara is one. So they are all kind of present. Yeah. So he mentioned that he just mentioned the name of the 8 close disciples, and these 8 disciples are all bodhisattvas. Yeah, last question.
In relation to what he said, we had a discussion about, does the authenticity of the Mahayana and all this historical stuff versus does it matter? Were all these bodhisattvas in human form because Vulture's Peak Mountain is only so big? Was the Mahayana was the Mahayana being taught on earth, or was it a purely? And I said, the historical stuff doesn't matter as much as the fact that it's actually here now, and what can we do with it? How does the monastics take that debate, like the historical accuracy versus the meaning?
Luju chan na ka da ji ga tagda yimi chero ta de sherving bo do song sa chi the song da de song lan ta de dan da man do sa de dan da man do song da di tagda yimi gi khagi demba yimi gi ta de ji yoro ka che de demba lan ta chik de rel ta ga rel la chi yo ma de lang men do den de andi the san ta ji gi the mirma de bethesan ge ni da komba kha de wala nyamlen che da de lobjun shida joro the contest de chigore sa nyam de da ji ju ton da na da ji demba ina pejin jing wo yo go ma de lang men ro da de indi
de 거기 demba yimin 거기 de lugi shetan don tu jing da mi da da ne kamera 연구를 했어 ngui nusi shebala sang magi na sheya khona mido as ina yang azu lojan chengin dizo ta to janju seba tuba mangbu phe yinza tendige thoni jago bhigri tel chajangi manga yores kibi shizul manga yores ne kheba kaung manga shigin de kibi shizul ma dala ki ichi chi yores ina lugi de nyamsu leya tende te mar lugi ra re khong gotu na tende chama tu na tende jre ngoma ne su de sosi stani mige wa phane gewa tu ya jide tu ya sosu sem jide tu ya sosu ki bo devo che de mil so te rawase lugi gotu tu madur te tende jre lugi ma wal goyar ma do chingam su lengala ta ko goya se ke mi dos yo marais
the history part, is that when you look at the historical, you'll see different interpretation or sometimes different timing. But the chronological events are not so important as it does to historians. For the practitioners, what is needed is what is being taught and how you should practice as a practitioner. And so the most commonly accepted, is as we said, one of the interpretation was many of the bodhisattvas came to the teachings in the form of vultures, and that is the most common and most belief in that interpretation. And so for the practitioners, as said before, they don't kind of take into seriously as like the historians do, and what they consider is more important is what is the content of the teaching, and how or in what way should yourself involve into practice, creating positive activities and abstaining from creating negative activities and finding a peace of mind and happiness within yourself. So that is more kind of and Volchapic Mountain, although from the interpretation it might kind of present it as huge mountain, spacious, but in reality it's not that huge or big.
장주 세바 자고를 주니 페네 지도를 리 풍부스기 나타 뭐네 삼다나 당는 장주 세바에서 딘디기 니바인 텐데 여러 뭐네 대제바이나 그런 삼다나 때래 이치전에 지린 초하시도
So it make kind of more sense in believing in the interpretation that said before, bodhisattvas coming into the teachings in the form of vultures, and because the bodhisattvas does have this kind of abilities to come from distant place to listen to the teachings in kind of form that they want it to be. Number power Jidra Jamba Quando Sambo Diandish. The dog in Jesus or the dog to some shape Yawa Tamji more Jodoma Zambo in the land and Sakaba snow white mountains, the source of all happiness and benefits. Person, choices, a man until samsara ends, just as the bodhisattva Manjushri attain omniscience, and Samanda Bhattacharya, so now I dedicate his train as all the victorious Buddhas of past, present, and future praise their tradition to supreme, so now I do dedicate these drawings to perfect perfection.
Oh yeah, thank you.